Hello, Peekers, and welcome back to Plot Peak Podcast. I'm Miranda.
And I'm Mackenzie, and this is your one-stop shop for storytelling.
Tea spilling.
And to keep up with all the latest book talk drama that you have been missing out on. Yeah.
Any life updates before we get into it?
No. Very uneventful these days. Go ahead.
I have started reading tarot cards.
Oh, that's exciting. Will you read me?
I can try. I'm not very good at it. And that's going to take, we would probably have to do that off camera because I have to, get into the mindset. I have to get grounded. We have to know what the intentions are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like my mindful practice because I need to work on my mindfulness. And I like it a lot so far.
That's so fun. Wait, I want you to do a reading on me. That's so exciting.
You'll have to come and visit me. I guess that's how we can. I'll have to come out here so I can feel your energy and I can read it for you.
Okay.
And mine is like all about the goddess of love. So it's all about like loving yourself, your relationships and stuff. But you can also read it as like a regular reading and whatnot. But yeah, and I got a little journal to go along with it.
Cute. I was going to say, if you read mine about the goddess of love, it's going to be like darkness.
She's
dry.
Like, there is the devil in here. So
maybe I don't want you to read it.
Yeah, well, if that's what the whole thing about tarot readings is, it's supposed to speak to your subconsciousness. So it's like, really, it's best if you're reading it for yourself, I think. So that way you look at the cards and you're like, what is it trying to tell me? And you kind of like develop your own reading. And then you read like what that card actually represents and you kind of compare how you were feeling to what it's actually representing and like how could they go together. It's really fun.
Okay.
I like it personally. It's kind of like reading your horoscope sign. I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
I love that. That's so fun.
Personal.
Can I read your journal?
Yeah, you can. It's very personal.
I want to read it more now.
You're like, now I have to read
now
it.
I need to know. Don't tempt me with a good time, okay?
No, seriously. And if you come out here to visit me one day, then you can read the whole thing. I'll let you read the whole journal.
Okay, fine. I guess I have to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I've got mostly. And then, yeah, that's it.
That sounds great. I love that. I'm not doing any. Oh, we talked about it last week. I finished One Dark Window and I really liked it. I would say the first part of the book, it was okay. I mean, it was just so much world building. It took me so long to get into. Yeah. When I got to part 2, I was a lot more invested. There was more story happening. It was easier to read, but it was still a little bit slow for me. Part 3, enthralled. Loved it.
Enthralled.
Yes.
Wow, that's a big
part
word.
3, like part 1 took me like 2 weeks to read. Part 2 took me like a week to read. And then part 3 I read in like a day. So
wow.
It was very good.
Is it a series?
There's 2 books. It's what's the word called? Not duplicate. Not duology.
Sequel?
Oh. That's not the word. I shouldn't be asking you.
Yeah, I just started reading. I just started this journey.
I'll think about it. It'll hit me like in the middle of the podcast and I'll be, it's that.
Oh, well, speaking of books that you read, I have started reading your book recommendation, Praise, The Salacious Players Club.
Do you like it?
Oh, yeah. I like it a lot right now. I'm really into it.
It's very fun, very taboo. Like, it's light, but there's also lots of drama.
I like it because she sounds like my POV if I were to be in her position. She's like, I just got to the part where she met like his old sub or something like that. She's like, fucking bitch, I hate you.
Slut.
I was like, that's me. If I were to ever be put in that position, I'd be like, Arr.
I actually really like the main character though, because she's very innocent and submissive, but she's also not like, what am I doing? I'm so scared. Like, this is all new for me. She's like, oh, this is actually a kink that I think I like and I really want to play into it. Like, she's not closed off to anything. Like, she's innocent, but she's open. And I love that.
Another reason why I see myself in her.
You said, I'm just such a small girl. I'm so innocent, but I will do anything you tell me.
Sluts. We don't slut shame around here.
We do not. No sluts around here.
Or maybe lots of sluts.
Maybe maybe. Actually, yeah, probably.
Yeah, if you think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am really into that book. And the side note that I wanted to say about it is, as much as I am interested and enjoying the story, I don't think smut is actually my favorite kind of book to read. I can't like get as into it as I am to like stories like we're reading right now, like we're covering with like plots, actual plots. I think it's interesting, but
I think Sarah J. Maas did such a good job with the Court of Thorns and Roses because it has smut in it, but it's not only smut. There's still such an intricate story. Yeah. I'm excited to get into the smut parts of this book, which again, very minor, very minor. Yeah. There's not a lot, but it's like a buildup. You know, you want to see, by the time you get to it, you're like, please, for the love of God,
somebody put it in.
Somebody do something. We've been waiting.
Yeah. But I like that kind of, because it makes me more invested in like the people and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Okay. So do you have anything else to say?
Nothing. Not a thing.
Well, then for the peekers, we want to remind you guys that this episode will be covering the Sarah J. Maas's Queen of Shadows, chapters 1 through 10. So if you are a new peeker here, here's your warning. We will be storytelling everything, essentially, that happened up to and through Heir of Fire and now going into Queen of Shadows. So if you have not read or heard of these books and you do not want any spoilers, this is your warning.
Your one and only.
Yep. But before we get into it, let's do a quick little recap of everything that's happened so far since we did make you guys wait for so long.
Oopsies.
Oopsies. So sorry about that. Selena has officially died, and in her place, Aelin Ashriver Galathinius has accepted the destiny everyone's been pushing onto her. She has accepted who she is and who she was and all the terrible things that she's done in her past. And she's no longer afraid to face herself and embrace all of who she is, which is a complete badass. At the end of the last book, she lit an entire kingdom on fire that didn't burn a single person or home just to prove a point. And during the battle against General Narok, she shot a fire beam so big that even people across the sea could see it. And now they know that Aelin Galathinius is back and taking a stand against the King of Adarlan. Rowan Whitethorn is a very large, scary, aggressive, and hot male fae. He's also the other half of Aelin's Caranum partner, which is essentially like a mating bond, but not. With this bond, they have the ability to share each other's powers, which is what they had to do to take down General Narok and the Valg princess.
It's definitely Valg.
Thank you so much. For some reason, I have it. I think my Apple or like my computer like autocorrects everything. So every time I put in Valg, it says Lag. And I'm like, is that how it's supposed to be?
You're like, anyways. Oh no, is it?
Okay, so the Valg, they are demons from another world who feed off of fear and darkness. And they have been summoned by the king, who is well-versed in word marking spells. And the king also has one, but possibly 2 word keys. And with this, he's been creating a bunch of weapons, and he's created a wordstone ring and collar. And they seem to be what's harnessing these demons into the demi-fae or magic-blooded people. But to harness a Valg prince, a powerful race of demon, they are required to have a collar. So far, the only way to kill one of those princes seems to be by fire or cutting off their head. Then we also had met a iron-toothed witch named Manon, or Manon. She also has a crew of 13. And Manon seems to be slightly different from the other iron-teeth witches. Still terrifying, don't get me wrong, and she is still very much a badass, but she has been starting to process new emotions and thinking a little bit different on the way things have been in the Blackbeak clan. She claimed Abraxos her wyvern, and he's essentially toothless in my mind. Mm-hmm. He was a bait wyvern that claimed Manon in the fighting pits and took down the biggest, craziest wyvern in the camp. He and Manon won the war games, where she was titled the winged leader of the aerial legion for the king. And the king has made a promise to the Iron Teeth witches that if they fight with him and his aviation legion in this upcoming war, then they can keep their wyverns afterwards, and Manon will finally be able to return to the Western race and reclaim her cursed lands. She and the 13 have been deployed to assist Duke Parrington in Morath, and suspiciously, Manon's grandma, who low-key seems to hate Manon, has stayed behind with the remaining witch clans, which includes her nemesis, Iskra, who's the heir of the Yellow Legs. And I'm going to keep my eyes on that because I just feel like that's really sus that her grandma is staying behind with somebody she hates. And I don't feel like that's a good combination. So I'm keeping my eyes on that development.
Potentially not.
And then we met Aedion Ashriver, Aelin's cousin. And he was supposed to be her right-hand man if they were to be together in Unbroken Kingdom. And then he and Kale were working together to figure out how magic was vanished. Kale realized that there's something to do with the Black Clock Tower, and it's somehow connected to 2 other towers in different regions. Both of them, Dorian and Sorsha, were summoned by the king, who heard that there was a spy plotting against him and his plans. And to save Kale, Aedion confessed that he was working for the Queen of the North and gets sent to the royal dungeons pending execution now. But turns out the king knew who it really was, who the spy really was. It was Dorian's new lover, Sorsha. The king ordered her head to be cut off, and Dorian was wrecked. Kale took his sword out to challenge the king, and the king asked for a bow and arrow to go through his head. And that's when Dorian unleashed his powers in front of everybody and froze the whole room, exposing his powers to his dad, and tells Kale to run and let Aelin know what's happening while he stays behind to try to stop his father. And in the end, Dorian ended up draining himself completely, allowing the king to walk up and clamp this obsidian word collar all around his throat. And that's where the book really ended off. He just got consumed by darkness.
Possessed.
Scary.
That's so sad.
Very scary.
I'm very excited to see what happens.
Yeah, are we ready to get into it?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we are going to be picking up with Aelin. She's been on a boat for quite a time, and she's finally arrived back in Rifthold. And almost immediately, she can tell the vibes are off. She sees all these new guards in uniforms she's never seen before, and she's almost positive that they know that Aelin is alive and trying to come here now. So she's like, I got to stay disguised and make sure nobody finds me, stay low, so I can try to get this word key from Erebin and see what's going on. So her hair is short from the Battle of Narok happening. The Vowed Princess kind of chopped her hair off. And she gets some like copper dye, and she dyes her hair a little red, orangey color. And then she sneaks off the boat, and she starts leaving a little trail for guards if they are going to be going after her. Her plan is to go find Erebin and try to figure out if he knows that he has the word key, or if he just knows he has her heirloom, because that's what we know for sure, that he has the heirloom, but we don't know if he knows what it actually is. So she's going to go find him. And obviously we know where he's at. He's at his main establishment, the vaults. But while he's there, he's talking and meeting with somebody who's strangely familiar. We see Selena, or Aelin, I should say now, sitting at the bar, and she's looking behind her. She's like, I'm pretty sure that can't be the person who I think it is. And she's looking at him. He's in a weird outfit. It's not his normal attire, but the way that he grabs his sword almost tells her immediately who that is. And it is Kale. Meeting up with Erebin.
In the vaults?
Of all things, like, not only is he meeting up with Erebin, he's in the vaults. He's not in his captain's uniform anymore. And he's got some other lady following him around. That's a side note. There's a little... We'll get into that though. But yeah, that's shocking news.
Yeah.
And I was reading that, and I was kind of surprised with that because Kale in the other books had said specifically if he ever ran into Erebin, he would want to kill him himself. And now he's meeting with him. So what's going on there?
Yeah. And for Kale to be doing business in the vaults, where it's like the most low life, kind of like skeevy place ever, you know, like all the bad deals go there. Why is he there? What is he up to?
We need answers now.
Immediately.
Well, Kale ends up leaving with his lady friend, and that's when Aelin makes her move to go confront Erebin. And Erebin is being a creep as usual. He's just like hitting on her. He's saying creepy, like passive aggressive things and saying like, oh, I'm so happy you're alive. I definitely was trying to come see you. And like, I was just so scared you were going to kill me. So that's why I didn't come after you. Just talking a lot of shit. And then he drops the tea that Aiden is in the royal dungeons right now, and he is being pending to be executed on Dorian's birthday. So that bomb was dropped on Aelin's lap because she didn't know that Aiden was even out here right now. And now she just found out that he's in the dungeons. And so that kind of puts a wrench in her plans because she was going to be focused on this word key and then get out. But now she's got to save Aiden. And then he says, Erebin is like, I actually lured you over here because there's another thing that we need to talk about. There's something creepy going on here in this town, and there's some creatures that are possessing magic-blooded people, and I want you to figure out what's going on with them. I want you to go capture one of these guards, and I can experiment on them. If you do that, I will help you get Aiden out of the royal dungeons. So there's a little bit of it's a little sus agreement that she's considering because we don't trust Erebin. He's a creep. And how do we even know that he's telling the truth? Or how does she know that he's telling the truth? So while Erebin was trying to explain that he lured Aelin here, Aelin in her mind is like, no, bitch, I actually got you. I knew what was going on. I lured these guards to come after me here because I knew they would try to track Aelin Galathinius down. And so while they're talking and discussing this plan to team up and save Aiden, the guards come in, and Erebin is like, okay, T, you got to go find Kale. I know what Kale is doing here. If you're interested, he's in the sewers. He's going to be down there later on this evening if you want to go find him, but I got to peace out. Bye. And she's like, great. Oh no, somebody's going to come and get me. And she decides to wreck the vaults because the guards are coming after her. She's like, how convenient. A fight here in his establishment? So sorry if I have to destroy this whole place.
So sorry.
Kind of like a little payback moment for her.
Isn't it also so shady that he just won't tell her what Kale was asking for or what Kale wanted? What a bitch.
He is a bitch, but also we know this is Erebin, and I like reading this book because she knows what he's doing. Like, she's like, this is a game that he's going to play, and I kind of have to play along with it. So it's like, it's annoying, but it's expected at this point. And as long as she's a step ahead of him, like it seems like she is, you got to do what you got to do.
She seems like, I feel like this is the first time she's interacted with him too, where she knows exactly what he is and knows exactly what his game is. She's not hoping for some ulterior outcome where like things go well or like, you know what I mean? I feel like this is the first time she's like, I'm fine. I'll play your game as long as I need to get what I want,
Yeah. And the other thing that I think that he's just so skeevy is like he's still playing these games and like still giving her those mixed signals of, I think you're attractive. I think that we could be a power couple. Like that's the vibe
he's
that
literally
he's
had her since she was a child.
Yeah.
Ew.
Sick.
Disgusting.
So Aelin is fighting these guards. She destroys the vaults, but it's becoming overwhelming. So she's like, I got to dip. And she runs out into the city, and then she sneaks away into the sewers so she can just, dip out of the streets for the guards. So she dips out into the sewers, and she's walking down, and she's like, hey, how convenient. This is where Erebin told me to meet up with Kale. I might as well go ahead and track that tunnel down to the location that he told me and find it. She's walking and walking and walking, and she gets to a fork in a road almost where one side is still like a normal dim lit tunnel, and one side that's going straight to the castle is pitch black, dark, and ominous and scary. So she gets up there. She's like, I have a feeling I should be going in this direction. That would not be me. But she's like, I wonder if I should go here. I should throw a rock real quick just to make sure it's safe. She throws a rock. Sounds normal, I guess. And she's about to walk in when she hears a female voice behind her saying, I wouldn't do that. She turns around and she meets Nesserin. And Nesserin is the female friend of Kale that we saw in the vaults earlier. So she's like, I'm so sorry. Aelin says, I'm so sorry. You don't know who I am, do you? And then Nesserin is like, actually, no, I do know who you are. You're the king's champion, and I wouldn't go in there if I were you. And I saw what you did in the vaults, and I know that the guards are after you. So if you want to stay safe, you should come with me. And I know where Kale is if you want to talk to him. And so Aelin is like, fine. Watch your tone, but okay, I'll go. And she's like, okay, let's go. So Aelin, after a while, though, gets kind of sus. She's like, I don't know if I actually do trust her all the way. And she's not telling me everything that I want to hear. So I'm going to hold a knife to her throat.
Seems like the obvious next step.
No. Yeah. If you're not getting the answers that you need, knife to throat. Easy.
Yeah.
Or if you're scared, knife to throat.
Obviously.
Easy.
Correct.
So, yeah, she puts a knife to her throat, and Nesrin spills the tea. She's like, okay, here's what's going on. Kale left the King's Guard. She joined the rebels a few weeks ago. The prince is alive, but he is not quite himself, so we have our eyes on him. So Aelin releases her, and she's like, okay, cool. And then the roles are reversed. And Nesrin is like, why shouldn't I be killing the King's champion after I know what you did to so many of us rebels last winter in that warehouse when you killed our leader?
That's fair. That's also kind of valid.
No, it was valid, but I thought Aelin popped off with her response, and she's like, she gets out of the hole and she's like, so do you want me to be so sorry for somebody kidnapping and holding my friends hostage and then another person trying to set her up for assassination? I don't give a fuck if I killed them. That's what happens when you mess with mine. So get over that bullshit, first of all. And I was like, I thought that was such a good response. She was like, get over that greater than thou bullshit. And it made me realize how broken she was before all, like, Selena was cutthroat and ballsy and stuff, but Aelin is like not going to put up with that bullshit. I know what I did and I'm okay with that.
I love the new her. Like, she did seem like a very heartbroken girl, like lashing out in violence before. And this is like an adult with a mission and a vendetta. And she's not going to let anyone trample over what she needs to do.
I'm like, here for it. Love
Snaps to that queen.
Queen. So we meet Kale again, though. After that little talk with Nesrin, Kale comes around the corner with some other rebels carrying withered, half-alive bodies. And they get a moment alone, and Aelin can realize that these bodies have obviously been in possession of the vow. She can tell with the way that their body has been withered, like the bodies that her and Rowan found in the forest, that they were being tortured by these princes. And so it's obvious now that Kale and the rebels are working together to free these people who are being held captive and get them to safety. So they get a moment alone, and it's giving coworker vibes. It's not cutesy. It's not demure. It's straight business. Like, they don't even like do anything but say, what's going on? What do we need to do? And I'm like, whoa, no hellos. How are you? It's just like very cold and short.
It's awkward.
It's very awkward. And I the whole time I was reading it, I was like, this it just didn't make no sense. I said, why are you guys talking like this? So Kale tells her what happened the day that Dorian was put into the collar, and he's being an asshole and saying that everything that's happened is essentially her fault. And then he's gaslighting her, saying that she's been playing around with magic with the Fae Prince, and she's not doing her part by not bringing an army with her, not bringing allies. How was she supposed to know to do any of these things that he's upset about? Like, they didn't even send notes to each other. So how was she supposed to know what was going on?
And also, he sent her away. He sent her away to learn her magic, to be with people. He was not expecting her to come back. Her return is just icing on the cake to help them. You know what I mean? Like, he was not ever expecting her to come back. He basically told her, go. He wasn't saying go and bring back help. He said, go.
Exactly.
I don't want you to come back. You need to be safe away from here.
And he also was still siding with the king during that time when they departed. Like, there was no even thought of him being like, maybe I should side with Dorian.
Maybe let's overthrow the kingdom. No.
Yeah. So how was she supposed to know any of this? And she's handling it well. Like, first of all, she wants to bash his face in after she heard what happened to Dorian, getting put in that collar and how he ran away. And then he's yelling at her about all these other things. She's like, these were not anything on my radar or in my control that I could even try to do. And she didn't lash out on him. So I appreciate that. I can respect that.
Also, it's not like she was just like dilly-dallying around with Rowan. Maybe that's like she hasn't had time to explain to him everything that happened, but they were literally under attack.
Yeah.
She had to defend all of them. What?
She made a huge explosion across the sea.
Yeah, it's not good. He's an idiot. He's an idiot.
We've said it once, we'll say it again. Fuck you, Kale.
Fuck you. Eat a bag of dicks.
That's gotta be our slogan. How are we on the merch progress?
Well, my brother went on his honeymoon, so yeah, we're working on it.
Terrible.
Guess we're gonna have to order it ourselves.
So Kale ends up telling her more. He's like, I know how we can free magic, but I'm not gonna tell you because I think you're crazy. And Aelin is like, okay, listen, there's no way to save Dorian without magic. So either you do help me free magic or I'm going to have to kill him to put him out of his misery. And Kale's like, oh, I do not trust you and your mind. He says, I heard what you did over there. You lit a whole kingdom on fire just to prove a point, and I don't think you can control yourself if magic is free here, of all places. This guy.
He said, I know the king did all of this, and I know he put Dorian in a collar and all that stuff, but I don't trust you. You're a villain. Idiot.
He's an idiot. He is an idiot. And after like this little spit spat that they go back and forth with, Aelin and him split ways. And Kale ends up meeting back up with Nesserin, where we get some tea on their whole dynamic. He trusts her 100%. She's like a part of the royal guard. So he has worked with her, their coworkers, and he trusts her. But the tea is their dynamic is kind of like friends with benefits, because he was having like on again, off again, like hookup sessions with her before he and Selena met, before he got Selena from the salt mines. And once he met Selena, that relationship with Nesserin kind of died out.
Ooh.
But now that Selena's been gone, he and Nesserin have kind of rekindled. And so like they're like bestie friends again with benefits.
That's also still kind of icky though. He said, I wanted you before, then I didn't want you when I found someone. And now that we're over, sure, let's go back and do it.
Kale's an idiot.
Hate him. Hate him so much.
I can't believe you let me talk so much positiveness about him.
I couldn't tell you.
Now I feel like an idiot.
No, but listen, there's still people that have read the entire books and are Kale stans. Okay, so
Really?
I was just really afraid that you were going to be one of them.
No, I think he's an idiot and he's so annoying now.
Everything he says, I'm like, what is wrong with you? Are you okay? Like, what is wrong with you?
But that makes me happy with Nesserin, because I do end up liking Nesserin, because she ends up confronting him. She's like, what did you guys talk about? What were you saying? And he tells her how Aelin wants him to free magic so she can have her powers and save Dorian. And Nesserin is like, you're being kind of dumb. Like, you're being a real dumb man right now, not accepting additional help. Like, you can't do anything if she's telling you this. So why are you refusing to help somebody else who's trying to help you?
Yeah.
So that's what made me like her. I was like, at least she's being honest with him.
Yeah, absolutely. No, she doesn't. I don't have any issues with Nesserin. I mean, she's just at this point, she's just like a new character, you know, that we're like, do we like her? Do we not? But she seems like kind of a girl's girl a little bit.
No, yeah. She seems like an independent girl too. Like, she seems like she knows right and wrong, like how Kale is. But she's not afraid to do what is actually right. Like, Kale is like, oh, well, I'm stuck in this role. I got to do this way. And Nesserin's more like, I'm going to fight for the greater good, no matter what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
That's the vibes I get from her. And that's why I like her so far.
Me as well.
Because T2, Nesserin, obviously, her and Aelin had the little knife fight. So Nesserin's a little sus of the King's champion. So that's when Kale is like, actually, that's Aelin Galathinius. And she's like, oh, T, I just held a knife up to Aelin Galathinius and she held a knife up to me. I was like, that's so funny.
She said, I held a knife to a queen's throat.
She was like, she's so cool.
I love that. Love that.
Yeah. And then, so Kale was like, really, I want to go back a little bit to when Kale was ripping into Aelin and how he was telling her that everything was her fault. She's the reason for all this happening. That was kind of triggering Aelin and all of her negative thoughts. And she was having these waves of guilt come to her and she would push them down. And I was getting kind of nervous for a second that she was just going to start bottling these emotions up again and just like explode. But instead, after she went into a different way, she went to her old warehouse apartment, drew herself a nice bubble bath, and reflected on everything that had happened. She could see why he's angry or why he's scared. She's accepted all the mistakes that she's made in her past, and she's okay if Kale sees her as a monster. As long as she's able to help save and protect the people that she loves moving forward, she doesn't care how she looks. She's just like, I will do what needs to be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's good.
She definitely has, her priorities are so different than when not really different, but her mental state is so much better than when she left. She's not like racked with all this guilt and this trauma and everything. Like, she knows that it's there. She's processing, and she also knows what she needs to do. And she's not going to let somebody's negative comments about her or toward her sway what she needs to do.
And I was going to say that is exactly what else she had mentioned too. She was like, I could see why I needed Cale before to like kind of help build me up and make me want to be a better person. But I am not the champion of the king anymore. I'm my own champion, and I don't care what anybody else says or thinks as long as I approve of what I need to do. I said, T, go off, girl.
Love that.
Love it. All right, so let's go pop into the witches and Marath. The witches hate Duke Parrington. They hate him, and they think that he's a stinky idiot and his army is stinky and gross, and they're all pathetic losers, and they think that they're better than them, which they are, to be honest.
I agree.
They know that something sus is going on in the mountains that are right next to them. There's this big ominous mountain, and there's something weird going on underneath it. They're not allowed in there to actually see what's going on, but they know something sus is going on. Also, they're very intrigued by these word callers because, as we remember, Lady Caltaine had to go marry Duke Parrington and go to Marath with him. And Lady Caltaine is there with them, but she has one of those word callers around her neck. And she is basically a ghost of herself. She's clearly malnourished, clearly being abused. She's not talking. She's just kind of blank stare sitting there beside Duke Parrington.
That's so sad. I mean, as much as Caltaine was the villain in Throne of Glass, does she deserve this? It's debatable. It's debatable. Their arguments were so juvenile.
Well, my question at this point is, why is she here with a collar on her neck? What is she doing if she's just why put a collar on her if she's not doing anything? What does that do for them? Like, how's that benefiting anybody?
Mm-hmm. Well, she's obviously got a Valg in her.
Yeah. But how are they utilizing it?
I don't know.
So I guess we'll have to keep eyes on that. But she doesn't look very alive right now. She's not really doing a whole lot other than just sitting there and getting beat.
That's so sad.
And Manon is like, this seems off and wrong, but also I'm not trying to get involved with this mortal drama. I'm just trying to be here, do my job, and get the heck out of here. So she's like, this is not my cup of tea, but I'm not going to do anything because it's not my problem. And then one day too, they're all just kind of lollygagging around. They don't even get to fly that much. They're not going out on secret missions. And Astrid, Manon's second, she one day pulls her aside and kind of challenges Manon. She's like, what are you doing following Duke Parrington's orders? He is literally not utilizing us to our potential. And Manon is not having it because she already also hates Duke Parrington. She already also feels the same way, but she's like, I have to follow these rules. Otherwise, we're going to get punished. That's what she's saying in her head. So instead of saying that out loud, she decides to choke Astrid. And she grabs her by the throat and she says, listen, I am not above putting you down if you continue to be a nuisance. So stay in line. Check yourself and go do your business.
I mean, that is tea, but she kind of handles things the way Aelin handles it, it seems.
Yeah.
She said, you're not listening? Dead.
She's like, listen. She's like, I'm not going to explain anything. I'm just going to use violence to tell you to stay in your place and just trust what I'm doing. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
But so after that little debacle, they go check in on their wyverns. Like I said, these wyverns, they're not able to go fly around. So they have this little nesting area on the top of their campsite. It's like on top of a cliff. And they're all kind of chained up there and waiting for their riders. They get up there and Abraxas, we can tell, is getting more confident with his flying skills and just learning more of his personality. We already said he's kind of like Toothless. And when they first got to Marath and started flying, Abraxas liked to play around with Manon, maybe give her a little bit of a heart attack a little bit because he likes to get up there, take a deep breath, and then play dead and fall. And just start falling down this deep cliff. And Manon, the first time he did it, Manon was like, what the fuck are you doing, you dumb animal? And then he said, nah, just kidding.
Just kidding.
Just kidding. She's like, you're sick. I like it.
I kind of love that about him. He said, I'm just going to play. He said, this is so fun. He said, have you ever just fallen off a cliff?
He said, watch this. Woo. But yeah, that's pretty much the quick little peek that we got with the witches. They hate Duke Parrington. They're not being utilized the way they want to. Abraxas is just vibing, doing his own thing. And Manon and Astrid are kind of butting heads, it seems.
I like that Astrid feels comfortable enough to stand up to Manon, Manon, whatever. You know, you guys know who it is, who we're talking about. But I feel like she is, I don't even think she's challenging her for leadership. I think she's just challenging her on her decisions in leadership. You know what I mean? Which I like. I think she still respects her, but does not respect what's going on. And it's given me like a modicum of respect for Astrid, because I don't feel like we got to see a lot of her in the last couple books. It was mostly Manon focused.
Yeah, I really like Astrid as well. I think I can see how she's being a little obnoxious to Manon, like with how their standards are, like they shouldn't be questioning anything. But I do also respect that at least she's able to recognize that they're doing something kind of fucked up, or like something's not working out the way that they should be like what they were anticipating. They're like, this is literally a joke.
Yeah, completely agree.
Okay, so moving back to Rifthold. So we know that Aelin probably agreed to help Arobynn by capturing one of those Val guards. And so he is going to help her free Aedion. So he's sent her back her old little spy uniform, the one with like the secret compartments. It's like that black leather one. It's just badass, essentially. So she's admiring this new gift. It has some minor modifications that look really good, and she's making sure that nothing's sus about it. And as she's looking through it, she hears a carriage roll up, and she looks outside and she sees it's Lysandra and a little girl coming out. And let's just remember her promise to Lysandra the last time she saw her. She told her she was going to kill her because of her bragging about getting all of that blood money for her bidding day.
Yeah. I mean, this is tea. She's got some balls on her, I'll say, to roll up to her house. She's got some balls on her.
Well, the tea is, though, she came there because she thinks that Arobynn wants her to be sacrificed as like a good omen for them working together again. She's like, Arobynn sent me here to explain this rescue plan for you. And also, I'm pretty sure he sent me here as an offering if you want to kill me still. So Aelin is like, I'll consider it. But she's listening. She's hearing her out because Lysandra thinks she's about to die anyway. So she's like, I'm going to just say everything I got to say right now. She says her piece, and she says, don't trust Arobynn. Even if he says he's helping you, he's got his own ulterior motives. And then she shows her a letter from Wesley, which was Arobynn's old bodyguard, detailing everything that he had learned about Arobynn when he set her and Aelin and Sam up, and how he asked Farron to do specific things to Sam when he was being tortured. And she has this letter because she and Wesley were lovers.
Wesley,
they were lovers.
Wesley, if you guys remember back in the Assassin's Blade, right when she was like, she jumped out the window. It was after Sam had died, and she was trying to avenge his death. She was going to try to kill Farron, and she like jumps out the window, and Wesley was the one that tried to stop her. And he literally said, and we said in that episode, he stopped her and was like, don't you know that Arobynn is, and then she killed him or knocked him out. So
she killed him.
She knocked him out and cut him off. But I really think Wesley was trying to warn her that this was a trap, and like Arobynn had his hand stirring in the dirty pot trying to get her taken away. And then she was taken away.
So this is like all the confirmation that Aelin needs to be like, yeah, Arobynn's actually a sick fuck and I hate him. He can eat a bag of dicks. And so she's like, I won't kill you. And she's like thinking in herself, she's like, I hope that I don't regret this, because she's obviously going to be the same as her mistress, because she has her own little prodigy coming in with her. That little girl, her name's
Evangeline.
Evangeline. So she's like a little, I can't say it. I knew I couldn't say that. I've actually never said it even in my head.
Okay, that's fine.
Anyways. So she's like, I hope I don't regret this. You just go back. Thank you for the tea. And she's about to push them out. And Evangeline.
Have you never heard the name Evangeline before?
No, I don't think so. Evangeline. And then Evangeline Evangeline is like, hey, I just want to let you know, thanks for not killing her. She's a really good person. She actually saved me from being a prostitute. She gave me these scars on my face. She has like terrible gashes on her face, like on either side. And turns out it's because she was brought in as a young child to be groomed into an escort, courtesan. And Lysandra was like, I can't let the same thing happen to her that happened to me. So she told her, she's like, if you don't want this life, I can do something for you, but it's going to hurt and it's going to be kind of fucked up. So they agreed. She stages like she got mad at her. She cuts her face. And lady, what's her name?
Lysandra?
No, her mistress.
Clarice.
Lady or mistress, lady, Madam Clarice.
Madam Clarice, yeah.
She comes in and she's like, what have you done? You've ruined this new person that I could have groomed into having so much money for us. And so she takes back all that Arobynn had paid off of Lysandra's debts. And so now basically everything's restarted. All the debts that she has now are from what was expected to be lost from Evangeline.
That's almost embarrassing.
No, I know.
That's not a super common name, but it's not.
Should I make up a different name?
No. That's the most common name in this book.
Evangeline.
Think of like Angeline, like Angelina. Evangeline.
Evangeline. That's good. Thank you.
Yes.
Sometimes I need a teacher to help. I'm just a baby.
So small. So special.
Just a little baby. But do you have any other clarifications about that whole little background story? Because I know it kind of like dropped a lot right there. A little hit.
No, I think it's cool though that we get to see. I think it really showed that Lysandra wasn't just coming to stir up drama, you know what I mean? And to even, like, I think she wanted her to see Evangeline so that she knows she's not the same person that she was. She's not the same, you know, little dramatic girl that she was in some feud over a boy and the way they were treated and stuff. Like, I think she wants her to know that she's been through some shit too, you know? And I think that it's a good explanation to show she's not the same person. Just like Aelin is not the same person that she was.
Yeah. And it says that too also in the book. Like Aelin is able to reflect and realize that she was so hyper-focused on how terrible and miserable her situation was growing up that she didn't realize that Lysandra and even Lady Keltane were also forced in these terrible situations and just making the best of the situations that they were in. So I think this is a really good eye-opener that they were maturing now, or they are mature now. They're able to reflect and say, yeah, things are different now. We all were just trying to survive and make the best out of the situation that we were dealt. So,
yeah.
But things are gonna change.
Yeah. I don't think they left as friends, but they didn't leave as enemies, that situation, which is a huge step up.
Yep, it is. Now let's do something else we got to do before we wrap all of this up. We are going to be starting Dorian watches because, as we know, Dorian was captured in a collar. And so whenever we peep back into him throughout this book, there's small little fragments of his time. So it's probably not going to be a whole lot until things start developing a little bit more. That's all I'll say. So we check into Dorian this week. He's not doing great. He's having a lot of internal battles within himself and the Valg Prince who's trying to take full control over him. It's like he is separated through a thin wall and he can see this Valg Prince just kind of prowling back and forth, trying to get through, trying to take over his space, take over his whole mind. So he is possessed, right? But he's not completely possessed. So he's still able to kind of go in and out of consciousness and kind of pick up what's happening and know what's going on. So he is still being possessed for the most part. The Valg Prince makes him go walk down, check in on Aiden in the royal dungeons, make sure he's still doing okay. And Aiden can tell that he's not himself. And so he's like, I don't know what's going on with you. Let me try to refresh your memory. And he's giving him like all these reminders like, your dad killed your love. Your name is Dorian. And also something bad's going on. What's going on? Like just kind of like refreshing him. And Dorian, he can tell that Dorian is kind of like poking through a little bit in the consciousness. And the Valg Prince grabs him back, shoves him back, and speaks for him. And then he's like, you know, I'm really going to enjoy watching you die.
Oh, That is
Terrible.
so scary. It's so sad reading these chapters. There's not too many of them in the beginning, but it's so sad because you can see he's like losing little bits of himself in each chapter. Like he's like, I know I watched someone die. What was her name? I know that, I lost someone. What was her name? Or I know that I have this collar on me. What was my name? Like he's just losing little bits in each chapter, and you can see that he's like slipping away, but he's still trying to fight for control, and he's just losing.
You're probably going to have to help pick up on these Dorian watches, because in my head, when I was reading this, I was like, he's gone. I don't even know why we're needing to discuss him. Like, he's just getting worse and worse. The chapters are literally like a page long for him. I'm like, what are we going to say if there is anything going on with him? He's possessed, and we all know that. So I'm excited to see. Well, I'm not excited because he does just lose himself.
I'm excited to see his demise.
Just kidding. Sayonara.
Sayonara.
Sayonara. So yeah. But yeah, after that threat, Dorian / the Valg Prince could tell that Aiden is next to dead. He's got a terrible infection going on with the injuries that he sustained getting kidnapped and sent to the royal dungeons. And we can't have that. He needs to be very much alive so that way they can kill him. So he goes and tells the king, he's like, hey, listen, Aiden's still down there, but he looks like he's about to kick the bucket. Maybe we should send some healers and save him, enough so that way he can make it to his hanging.
I actually think he tells the guard on his way out.
Right. He tells somebody. He's like, don't let this guy die yet.
He's like, hey, by the way, he's got a raging infection. He's got a couple days left. Might want to get a healer in here. And it shows in Adian's chapters that he was like, I know I'm going to die, so I might as well die on my terms. And Adian was trying to hide this infected wound that he had the whole time. And then literally Dorian, the evil demon, comes in and it's like, I can smell your infection. Don't worry, I'll get a healer in here.
Yeah,
poor Adian.
That was kind of a funny part because I was like, oh, don't want you to die. But also I get it. Like, die in your own cause, like on your own hands.
It's like, I'd rather just die in here than be made some kind of big spectacle and for the king's enjoyment.
Yeah. And the devil is like, no.
He said,
you're living.
You're going to live so that we can kill you next week.
Literally. But yeah, so that is the end of this week's wrap up. But I do want to do some predictions from my first 10 chapters. I have predictions on how things are going to develop before the end of this book. I think that Kale and Aelin will figure out a way to save Dorian, but I think it's going to involve Manon. I think she's going to end up figuring out how to save Lady Caltaine from that collar somehow. And I think that she's going to somehow end up in Rifthold and figure out a way to work with them and help them save Dorian. So that's my prediction. I think they're all going to have a big powwow.
A big powwow. They're going to meet up at some point. Like this Christmas
only a matter of
special
time.
is only a matter of time.
Only a matter of time.
I don't know why I always think of it as like a Christmas special. When I see different POVs and I'm like, I know they're going to connect at some point. I'm like, it's a Christmas special.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that whenever you said that in the last book, Heir of Fire, that was very spot on of what it was. It was just so much going on, so many different characters, and then now we're all meeting each other.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah. That's a great prediction. I can't wait to see what you think.
Or what happens.
Yeah.
I know. I'm excited. What were you thinking about whenever you first read this? How were you envisioning? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I know that I really don't remember. I was reading through it so fast. I was like devouring it. I didn't even have time to think forward. I was just like, like in all the chapters, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is going on.
No, this book too, you guys know I'll say it. Things happen in this book, okay?
Things are starting to happen.
It's a good book. I read too far ahead. I'll just go ahead and say I read too far ahead and I've finished it, and now I'm just waiting for us to hurry up and go so I can read the next book because this book was so good. And
if you thought this book was good, you are going to die with Empire of Storms.
I'm so excited.
Empire of Storms really destroyed me.
In a good way or bad way?
That remains to be seen.
Okay. Well, you still have a full head of hair, so you didn't shave your head, and that's good.
Mm-hmm. It's been a while since I read it, though, so.
Are you going to reread it?
Yeah. I've been rereading.
Slay.
I'm in the middle of Queen of Shadows again. So I stopped for a little bit since we took a little hiatus, but I'm going to pick it back up.
Pick it back up, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Peekers, that was the end of this week's plot. So next week, don't forget to come back as we take a peek at Sarah J. Maas's Queen of Shadows, chapters 11 through 20.
And don't forget to follow us on TikTok and Instagram. Instagram is Plot Peak Podcast, and TikTok is plot.peak for all things drama, book talk, memes, and upcoming events, because you know we have so many to talk about for all 4 of you.
And if there's more of you out there, feel free to let us know, because we don't know.
We'll keep a running tally. Maybe one day it'll be like 5 or 6 too.
Who can say?
Who could know?
Okay, well, bye.
Bye, guys.
Cool.
All right, we've done it.
Hell yeah.